You know it's over. You can see it. You can feel it. Might be the relationship. It might be the job. It might be the version of yourself that you've been performing. Doesn't fit anymore. The door is open. You could walk through it. And yet, every part of you wants to turn around, go back, and try one more time. Make it work. Because even though the old life doesn't fit, at least you know how to survive it. You know which version of yourself to be. You know how to manage everyone's comfort. You know what's expected. The new life? That's the one you don't have a map for. The one where you'd have to choose yourself without knowing if that's safe yet. So you stay in the doorway, one foot in the future, one foot in the past. And you tell yourself you're just being careful. But really, you're just not ready to stop people pleasing yet. Hey friends, I'm Sandy Bartlett, shamanic practitioner for Second Spring women who are ready to stop people pleasing and reclaim their lives. Today, we're talking about what happens when the old life keeps calling you back and why your nervous system keeps pulling you toward what's familiar, even when you know the people-pleasing pattern doesn't work anymore. The old life doesn't have to be good. It just has to be known. You know how to navigate. It's familiar. You know what's expected. You know which version of yourself to be. It's a life where you know how to manage everyone else's comfort, how to adjust, how to make it work. The new life, even if it's better, requires you to not know what's ahead. And your system hates not knowing. So it keeps pulling you back, not because the past is safe, but because it's familiar. This is your nervous system trying to protect you from the unknown and from having to choose yourself before you know if that choice is safe. Here's what's actually happening. Part of you is still back there in the old relationship, the old role, the old version of yourself that you perform to stay safe. And while you might be thinking you're weak or that it's a weakness, it's not. What it is, it's soul fragmentation. You left a piece of yourself behind, and your nervous system keeps pulling you back to retrieve it. The work isn't forcing yourself forward. It's acknowledging and allowing yourself to be called back from the places you scattered yourself when you were people-pleasing. Drop a comment. What old life keeps calling you back? What makes it so hard to close that door? I have lived this. When my first husband decided that he didn't want to be married anymore, the words he used was that he wanted to separate. Well, I took him at his word that it was truly a separation. But what he was using the word separation to him really meant divorce, even though he didn't use that word. And I don't remember why we decided it at the time. I think maybe because we had to sell the house, perhaps. I don't remember. But we remained living together, even though this, I think, I want to say it was in like January that he decided he didn't want to be married. He wanted to separate. And I was truly looking at it as it would be a separation. We continued to live together, but I was walking on eggshells constantly, hoping to find the way back. Pull to make it work, even though the writing was on the wall. I I was always the story in the back of my mind that it was just a separation. He was maybe going through some midlife thing, and I think he was, but either way, that it was temporary, that it wasn't going to be anything permanent. And he ended up taking a trip to Northern California, supposedly was going to visit a friend. And the whole time, like, I didn't question anything. I didn't argue. I didn't ask questions. I just took it at face value and accepted it and stayed quiet. And I saw him that Friday night driving back from somewhere. I was with a friend, and it was kind of weird, but again, the whole staying silent, that familiar pattern of silence over confrontation kept calling me back. And I learned when he returned that he'd actually gone up to visit the woman who is now his wife. But it was the people-pleasing script that, for me, that kept coming back. If I just don't rock the boat, maybe it will fix itself. And if I manage my response, maybe he'll come back. Maybe this will not happen. And it wasn't because everything was working. It was because it was the only script I knew. That was my personality at the time. That was what was driving me. Part of me was still in the old version of the marriage, trying to retrieve it instead of letting it go. If you're standing in that doorway right now, one foot in the past, one foot in the future, still trying to make the old life work, even though you know it's over, I see you. This is soul retrieval work, calling back the parts of yourself you left behind in the old life, in the old patterns, in the people-pleasing version of you that believed staying small kept you safe. I offer one-to-one shamanic sessions for women who are ready to retrieve what they scattered and close the door on what no longer fits. If you're ready to step through that door, the link to book a session is in the description. So here's the cost of staying in the doorway. You think you're buying yourself time, but what's actually happening is you're fracturing yourself. Part of you knows the truth. Part of you is pretending you don't. I didn't want to accept or believe that my marriage was over. And I truly thought it was just a temporary separation, which kind of made it worse when it actually came to fruition, because I still believed that it was not going to happen. I was in denial. And you can't fully grieve what's over because you're still hoping it might come back. I was still hoping my marriage wouldn't end. You can't step into what's next because you haven't let go of what was. The doorway becomes the place you live in between. And that's just not sustainable. Your energy is split. Half of you is in the past, half of you is in the future. None of you is here right now. The people-pleasing pattern keeps you stuck because closing the door means choosing yourself, and that still feels dangerous. Have you been living in the doorway? Tell me about it in the comments. What are you afraid will happen if you finally step through? So here's what it actually takes to step through. You don't step through because you're ready. You step through because staying in the doorway finally becomes more painful than the unknown. The pull back doesn't mean you're failing. It means your nervous system is doing what it was trained to do. Choose familiar over uncertain. At some point, you stop asking permission from the old life to leave it. You call your energy back from the past and you retrieve the parts of yourself you left there. And I'm not saying it's easy. Believe me, when I was going through that at that time, I kept replaying the scripts, what if, all the what ifs. And at the same time, I was trying to navigate being single and what that even would mean. And I'll tell you, the day I figured it out, that I figured out what was really going on and where my husband had gone, I put a deposit down on a condo that day, had no clue where I was going to get the money for that deposit. My mother, God rest her soul, loaned me the money and I paid her back. But I went and looked at a condo and I put a deposit down that day. And then when I came home, I did confront him and told him what I knew, which he still denied until I showed him proof. And then he tried to pass it off as a one-night stand. And it's just a complicated story, the whole thing. I had to stop the people pleasing. I had to stop that version of me that thought staying small was the only way to survive. And then I closed the door, not because I knew what was next, but because I was done pretending that the past still fit. If this is resonating, let me know in the comments. The pullback doesn't mean you're failing. It means you left a piece of yourself behind. And now you're ready to call her home. I'll see you next time.